news rallies which were mega competitive at the time, and you had all these like legendary drivers doing it, and he was like the young lad that just turned up a bit hungover and took it to them. But half the time he either won, crashed, like ran out of petrol, or they got lost on the way to the finish. Um,
Welcome to another episode of my Off the Track Motorsport podcast. This podcast is proudly supported by both Viking Offshore and Carbon Positive Motorsport. Viking Offshore is a leading global company in the offshore renewable and shipping sector and is proudly committed to giving back. In partnership with Carbon Positive's offsetting initiatives, we all aim to retain our sport and environment for future generations. Please visit carbonpositivemotorsport.com to learn more about how you can be a part of this and help us all be positive about motorsport. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Ep.6 of my Off the Track podcast series. This week we've got the full interview with the leading BRC driver of Chris Ingram. Chris Ingram, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, mate. Good to be back, and looking forward to today's chat. We're going to talk about a bit more than the Northwest stage as well, but hopefully a lot more.
Yeah, absolutely. No, thanks so much for doing that last week. I very much enjoyed that, and it was great. I felt like I came off the back of the podcast, and I was like, I've got so many more questions. There's so much more I want to ask him and talk to him about. So obviously,
Mate,
this is our chance to do it.
good man. Yeah. We'll get stuck in.
Yeah. So obviously, off the back of the Northwest stages, you went back home. Now, home is not England at this moment in time. It's in Monte Carlo, I believe. So tell me, how on earth have you ended up there? What's the ties there?
So after a rally last year, I won the lottery, and no, I'm joking.
I was like, I've not prepped for this.
Believe me for a second. So I actually, the first year I did Monte Carlo Rally, that was like Monte Carlo for me is the pinnacle. It was a dream come true to do it. And I went for a run the morning of the rally. Every morning I go for a run to get
Yeah,
myself in the zone. And I bumped into this lady, two ladies actually, who were walking their little dogs. But it's because one of the dogs was just like my first dog, a black lab. And I got chatting to the lady anyway, and they were both English.
yeah.
One of the ladies said, I want to introduce you to my daughter. So I started talk. So she introduced me to a daughter online. I was talking to a daughter for
Yeah,
a year on Instagram and wanted to meet up with her because she was very beautiful and cool and stuff. And then she was playing hard to get for a whole year.
yeah.
But the next year I did the rally, which was Monte Carlo 2023 last year. I met Jazz, her daughter, and she's now my girlfriend. Um,
Wow.
so that was the story. So Jazz was born here and has lived here her whole life,
Yeah.
but she's half English. So I
Okay.
don't live here. I live here probably half the time, and then half the time um, with my folk in near Manchester. So yeah, 50-50, which is a
Yeah.
nice balance, really.
So you literally met each other because Jazz's mum, you stopped on a dog walk to speak
Yeah,
to her mum, and it just went from there.
yeah, exactly. So Jazz's mum's like the best wing woman ever for Jazz.
That is the best story ever. There's just
Yeah.
like, how did that even
It was
happen?
the morning of Monte Carlo Rally as well. So yeah, like my first Monte, so it
Yeah,
was class.
excellent. And but then, so obviously everyone tells me how expensive it is out
Yeah.
there. Is that why you're only half the time out there? Because you can only afford it
I'm
half the
only
time.
allowed to be half the time out here at the moment
Really?
because of Brexit. But it's not actually that bad. You know, it's no more expensive than Manchester, like Manchester prices really.
Yeah,
But the rent's another level. But living, going to the supermarket to the going out for dinner, it's not that bad.
yeah,
Obviously you need to know the right spots, but yeah, it's an incredible place to live.
yeah. And then
unbelievable.
obviously with the Formula One like track going around there, is it like how I would imagine? Like I'm planning a trip there in June, and I'm specifically told Alana that I want to get a hire car because I want to drive around the track. Is that
Yeah.
just like a pipe dream? Is it actually all closed off, or can I actually do a bit of it?
No, you can do it. So I drop Jazz off at work, my girlfriend, and I drive the circuit there and back every day. You
Oh,
might have you seen the video of me drifting the hairpin?
I did, yes. Was that
Yeah.
the day when you had the your sponsorship launch? Was that the same day?
No, that was actually after the rally, and I shouldn't have really done it.
I did
Um,
wonder the legality of that, but
yeah,
thankfully my podcast isn't that popular
yeah.
yet.
Uncle Albert let me off, so we got away with it.
Who was that, sorry?
Uncle Al Prince Albert.
Really?
Well, he's not. Yeah, he's a close associate of my sponsors and um,
Okay.
some contacts here. So
Yeah.
that's why he was at our launch. I don't know if you saw that as
I did
well.
see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to bring that up.
Yeah. So yeah, what an amazing person he is.
So you're literally just bumping shoulders with royalty in Monte Carlo.
Surreal, yeah, yeah. And 2 or 3 years ago, I was living in a caravan.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, and put just trying to keep the dream alive. So
Yeah.
a hell of a roller coaster life in it.
It certainly is. But, it can't be all go all the time. What does Chris Ingram do to unwind and relax?
Um, it's a good question that because I find it find it really hard to switch off from rallying because I'm so obsessed with it.
Yeah.
Um, but luckily I've got amazing. It's all about having amazing people around you, isn't it?
Definitely. Yeah.
And for me, also training is a massive thing. Um, being disciplined to my training, it gives me something else to focus because I always feel like I have to be working towards something. So if it's not rallying,
Mm.
then I need to be working towards fitness
Yeah.
or I'm working on a business opportunity out here at the moment as well.
Hmm.
Um, but luckily it's nice just to, take the dogs for a walk either here or in the UK.
Yeah.
Luckily I've got dogs in both places.
Yeah.
So yeah, I try and try and keep balanced, but it's
Mm.
not my strongest point.
Yeah.
What about you, mate?
Um,
Because it's
what's
always
that for?
good to
Sorry.
know what other drivers do to switch off.
So,
I mean,
like talking to you now, I very much relate to a lot of the things that you're saying. You know, once I get absorbed into something, some would say obsessed, I would probably say passionate. Although that point could be argued. It's very much like 100% until burnout, and then when burnout comes, then it's a kind of mental health roller coaster until you kind of capture your breath again, and then it's on to the next thing.
yeah,
But certainly, like rallying for me, obviously, I only do the Mull Rally once a year, but building that budget and everything that goes into that, and Alana now knows when you've got like recce seasons coming up because
yeah.
we've got open recce in the Mull Rally, so you can recce as much as you want. So
Ah, right.
he's now aware that any commitments that I make are actually just not really going to happen. So it's pretty much 100%. But then like fighting for it, and like always the goal was to win the Mull Rally,
Yeah,
and then obviously doing that, probably I always believed I could do it, but I was probably quite unexpected that it was going to happen so soon,
right.
and I definitely felt that after that I was kind of a bit lost, really.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know, the kind of negative comments inside my own mind was actually like, is this probably one of the worst things to happen to me? Because now I've not got something that I've been working so hard for so many years.
yeah.
Um,
That's a really interesting thing, isn't it? Because it was the same for me during COVID.
Hmm.
I won the European Championship, and then that wasn't really the big goal for me. It was a
Yeah.
win. I wanted to win the ERC and go to WRC, but then everything was taken away, and I had nothing. I had an apartment in Manchester. I lost that. I moved in my parents' sofa. There was absolutely no rallying on the horizon or anything
Yeah.
positive for a long, long time. So
Uh-huh.
it's be hard to deal with. But like you said, when you achieved your big goal, winning Mull, I can understand that that's a weird place to be. Like,
Hmm.
what's next when you focused on one thing for so long?
Yeah. I think we always kind of strive for the next thing. We're always fighting. I think we're kind of cut from probably somewhat the same cloth. Uh, and a lot of us in this sport are, I would say. And
Yeah,
once you would get to the top, like when you become, world champion, are you going to be satisfied? I think like Tyson Fury is a great example, isn't he? In the boxing industry, he's the most obvious example of he literally fought for that his whole life, and then once he got there, it just buggered him really, didn't it?
yeah, yeah. It's like I think, and it's all down to us as well and what we believe is enough. One
Mm,
of the mates in the gym said to me recently, um, because I was saying like, oh, when I make it, when I get to WSL, or when I make it, or when I do this, and he was like, yeah, but you've already made it, and you don't
yeah,
need to. But and it just got me thinking so much. We've already achieved both so much, and
yeah,
we should give ourselves a lot more credit for that rather than constantly going for the next thing. But then I think as competitive men, you always want to go for the next thing, don't you?
absolutely, absolutely. It's scary how quickly it comes on the back of achieving like a long time life goal, if you will.
Yeah.
I think I've set myself a few goals for my life, and I've been lucky enough to achieve a fair few of them. And I've found that the fight's actually the best part. I don't,
Yeah.
I've actually found now that I don't really like winning. Once I get there, I get imposter syndrome. I don't like it. I like fighting to get there. But then I don't know. You're quite comfortable with winning. I mean, it's probably because it happens a lot more with you. But you're quite comfortable with winning. Would you say that's the case?
Um, it's a good question. I've never thought about it, but it's funny you mentioned imposter syndrome
Hmm.
because I struggled with that a lot in the past. Going up against drivers and you think, oh, why am I here? I'm no. You have to remind yourself who you are.
Yeah.
And I've really struggled with that a lot. Like going into big rallies and
Yeah.
thinking, oh, I've got no chat, but reminding yourself of the examples of when you like even like going into Monte, I was thinking, oh, don't know if I've got it or whatever, even though 2 months before I was having Loeb come and ask me for my times and
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
like swapping times with him. So it's a funny thing, isn't it? But it's all down to us, isn't it? It's all
Yeah.
in our minds.
Keeps you sharp though, Chris. It keeps you sharp. It keeps you fighting for it because once you get complacent, you maybe take your foot off the throttle a wee bit, and then you realise very quickly that it is that kind of that mindset that's holding you there. That's what's
So
keeping you.
true, mate. Even the
Yeah,
Northwest stages going into that first stage, I had, Keith Cronin, who's just been unbelievably quick in Ireland
yeah,
on the first two rounds. You've got Ocean Price, you've got Merrion, you've got um, you know, William Creighton just won Junior World Championship. And I
yeah,
was thinking, I don't know how fast I've got to go this morning. And it was a really weird thing, like how hard am I gonna push here?
yeah,
And I just absolutely sent it. And luckily, but I put a lot of pressure on myself to do that really.
yeah. And could that have ended up in a big
Work.
smash? Like, how close to you? where the limit, you know.
I didn't have any moments or anything, but I was still, I think that pressure I put on myself, like you said, it, it, it sharpens you up, doesn't it? It makes sure you're ready.
Yeah.
Go into it too relaxed. How are you going to perform at that level?
Are you nervous before a rally, Chris?
I'll admit that I was the most nervous before the Northwest stages probably than ever.
Really?
I think because it was my local rally and winning was the only result. If I didn't win, everyone probably would have said that was a big failure.
Yeah.
Um, Whereas going into Monte, people aren't really expecting me to win,
Hmm.
because there's so many people that can.
Yeah.
So going into that, I was more nervous than ever. I admit that. And
Yeah.
admittedly, it was the same 2 years ago when I did it, and there was not quite the same competition then.
Yeah.
I think it's because the expectation I put on myself is the only result is to win.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's a weird one, isn't it? But it's interesting that that pressure, the pressure I put on myself, it does work. It does work for me.
Yeah. It certainly does, but
It's hard to deal with though.
it is at what cost?
Mentally,
Because
yeah.
you just literally kick your own arse, beat yourself down.
A
You're
week.
you, you know you're in your room telling yourself, "I'm fucking shit. I'm not fast enough." But then you've said it yourself, like as your friend said to you in the gym, like you've achieved it all. Okay, you're not world champion, but European rally champion. All these titles over your career. Hugely fast driver. Like you have achieved it. But it's as soon as somebody tries to convince you, or I've been for therapy and stuff in the past, and they say, "Look, no, you are a good person, or you have done well. You are a hard worker in this," and you like
Yeah.
you believe them for a moment, and then after you're like, "Nah, fuck that. Get that negativity out of my head. I'm shit. I need to work harder."
That's hilarious, mate. Yeah, it's God. We're our own biggest critic, aren't we? That's for sure.
Absolutely, but that's what gives you your edge, Chris. That's what makes you so fast.
Hmm. I think you're right, mate.
Hmm. And then how do you take that over into like Civvy Street and like work wise? Like what do you do for work? You said you've got a bit of a business opportunity. I don't know if you're happy to talk about that or whatever, but what do you do when you're not rallying?
Yeah, I've got an opportunity I'm working on in Monaco at the moment. It's still early stages, but I'm hoping it's going to be a game changer
Right?
for me, and it also relates to my rally career a little bit. I can't say much about it, but I'll hopefully be able to tell you soon because it's really exciting and some massively influential people involved.
Good. Good.
To be honest, mate, the last several years I've been focused on rallying, um, and you always get the odd keyboard warrior saying, "Oh, go and get a proper job," and all this all this sort of stuff. But it's my life.
Yeah.
I As long as I can survive, then I'll keep following my dream in rallying. But this has come up recently, which is just as exciting as rallying actually. So
Good.
putting a lot of energy into that.
So you're diversifying slightly.
Yeah, yeah.
Good.
But it will benefit my career as well if it comes off.
Good.
When it comes off, yeah.
I like that. When it comes off. That's good attitude. Words are extremely important.
Yeah, yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So let's get into the rallying career.
Yeah.
How did it all start? How did you say, do you know what? I'm gonna go rallying. Was it go karts, or was it quads round the track, or how did it start, and then how did it progress?
So most people know that it was my dad that got me into it. My dad was rallying in the 80s on road rallies, and he did the tour of Mull. Likes to remind everyone that he was the leader of the tour of Mull, 1987 or 85 or something.
1986 and 1987 he did it.
Right. And he was beating all the locals, which he was very proud about. But to be fair, my dad was looking at all the paper clippings. He was an unbelievable talent in his sunbeam, but he just never took it seriously.
Yeah.
He was winning motoring news rallies, which were mega competitive at the time, and you had all these like legendary drivers doing it, and he was like the young lad that just turned up a bit hungover and took it to them. But half the time he either won, crashed, like ran out of petrol, or they got lost on the way to the finish. Um, and then he just sort of packs it in, which is such a shame because he clearly had mega talent. And often I go to rallies in the UK now, and people will talk about my dad, and they don't have a clue what I'm up to, but they'll talk about how my dad was leading a road rally in 1985.
Yeah.
So it's quite mad, really. But then, yeah, when I was about 8 kid, my dad was successfully running a business building houses. He was building a lot of the footballers' houses around Manchester,
Right. Okay.
and he did incredibly well, won loads of awards for house building, um, got a really good reputation, good name for himself around like Cheshire and Manchester, and he was able to um, get back into rallying, and he actually rallied an Evo, then Subaru WRC
Hmm.
99 car, then a 2002 Focus WRC ex McRae car,
Mm.
and then an S11 uh, 2005 Subaru WRC.
Yeah.
So like mega, state of the art at the time. That was
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
2008 when he had the 2005 Subaru. So it was, 250, 300 grand's worth.
Yeah.
Um, and he was going really well again and winning a lot of national rallies. And he was leading the Ancro Championship, which was a big championship. And then unfortunately, the recession hit in 2008.
Uh-huh.
And my dad really struggled, lost his business. Um, we lost, life changed really because I was a
Mm.
very, I was always very grateful. I was always a lucky kid. But my dad got me a quad bike and a little dune buggy thing, and I used to drive that around fields when I was 11, 12. I would have been then. So
Yes.
that was the start of my driving. But then life changed when, unfortunately, his business suffered. And luckily, he'd kept a little bit of money under the bed to help me start rallying in the Junior 1000 series when I was 15 in the
Okay.
Citroen one. So my dad helped me do that. And we used to like run the car ourselves with a motorhome. We had a motorhome, and it was amazing memories like going around the country. Um, yeah, dad and lad team. It was
Yeah.
and and then I managed to win that. We got a Twingo R2, and that was like I would say that was the last big push from my dad.
Yeah.
And we did the British Rally Championship in the Twingo. Then I also we also went out to France and did a few French events,
Okay.
which was mind blowing because the French just those events were on another level, to be fair.
Yeah.
Um, and then we did the Circuit of Ireland. Actually, it might have been the year we met, and it was like the first time I really showed some speed,
Yeah. Is
you know,
that the year you
in
had the
adult
big? Is that
rallying.
the year you had the big crash?
Yeah, and I was absolutely on it.
Yeah.
And
Because you
I
won
think
the trophy, didn't you? You won the Colin McRae
Colin
flat out
McRae,
trophy.
yeah, we were seventh overall in the Twingo, amongst like the S2000s, the R5s. I don't know. We did a bit of an illegal test
Yeah.
before that rally, and we just got the setup so good, and I was so dopey back then that I was, I had no fear. I was just flat out over all the jumps, and we would just fly in, and yeah, I crashed and completely destroyed the car. Um, but we won that trophy, and that actually was the start of Peugeot UK. So in the background, Jean-Pierre Nicolas was the European Championship manager.
Uh-huh.
Spoken to the Peugeot sport boss Bruno Faman, who's now the Formula One Alpine boss.
Okay.
I think he is still. He's not been sacked. But um, so they actually got Peugeot UK to back me.
Right, okay.
And randomly I got a call and hi there, it's Chris from Peugeot UK. We want to call you in to meet us in Coventry at the Peugeot PSA HQ.
Right.
And they ended up fully funding me for the next 18 months,
Right, okay.
European Junior Championship. So weirdly, I thought when we crashed the car that that's it, it's the end of my career.
Yeah.
We had no more money. My dad couldn't help me anymore. Um, that was it. And then this all happened with Peugeot UK, which is absolute unbelievable opportunity
Yeah.
for 18, almost 19 years old. I did the Junior European Championship with Peugeot UK. Did pretty well. I think I was top three consistently, but the Opel team were dominating.
Uh-huh. The
So
Opals were a bit quicker than the 2.8s, weren't they?
yeah, and that was like a proper factory team, whereas the Peugeot UK deal was ran by a private team.
Yeah.
It was actually ran by Jean Pierre Nicolas' son because
Okay.
we thought we better be loyal and give it to Jean Pierre's son, the gig.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so the money dried up from Peugeot UK because of change of personnel, and they wanted to support tennis instead.
All right, okay.
Some new guy came in who was a bit weird and thought that tennis would have been better promotion. Um, Luckily, my dad had actually been giving a bit of stick and having good banter with the Opel engineers at the end of the stages,
Yeah, yeah.
and they had quite a good camaraderie together.
Yeah.
Like if the Opel guys were faster, then they would be giving a bit of banter to my dad, and if I was so so it was my dad once again that built that connection with the Opel guys, and at the end of 2014, Opel invited us over to meet them in Germany, and they offered me to drive a third car because they were running two cars. They'd
Yeah.
seen my potential. They offered us a deal to run the third car, and I had to raise uh, it was £35,000 for the full season to run in the Opel factory team, and it was like a mini WRC team. It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
So
That's so interesting, Chris. So literally, you'd rolled the Twingo, and that was it. Yous were skint. You had no
yeah,
money, no money, and then just the opportunity came off the back of that. But literally, there's no money for there. Thankfully, and the stars have aligned. You've got this deal, and then it's moved on to this Opel deal
yeah,
purely on driver merit.
yeah, exactly. And I had to raise a bit of sponsorship, which luckily managed to do. But that I had to raise 35 grand, but it was probably worth 250 grand that drive.
Yeah,
We were testing all the time. It was epic. In the first year, I finished second. My German teammate won on the last rally. We were both going head to head, and my car broke down.
oh no.
But they gave me a free drive for the next season. So after all, it was actually better that I finished second.
Yeah,
I got to do another year, which I needed. And in the second year, I was teammates with Jari Huttunen, who was a incredibly fast finish driver, and he was quicker than me on all the tests. He was unbelievably quick. But then on the rally, I always managed to just turn it on.
yeah.
And I won three rallies, he won one. And I won the championship in the final round against him. Um, and had won 100 grand prize money. Actually, I didn't get the 100 grand prize money, but that's another story.
I
Um,
did actually wonder that. Is that something you can talk about? Because like that seems
can't
like a
talk about it
huge
because
kind
I've
of.
been bullied into signing a contract.
What's that? Sorry.
I've been bullied into signing a contract saying I can't talk about it.
Oh, okay.
Sorry about that,
No,
but
that's
maybe
fine.
I'll be able to one day.
Okay,
Um,
we'll move
so I
on.
won, yeah, I won the ERC Junior Championship, and I then was trying to take the step to four-wheel drive to do the overall European Championship.
Yeah,
Talk Sport, who they were completely unknown back then. I'd never heard of them personally. They offered me an amazing deal. So I went over to meet them and everything was really exciting. Great people, brand new Skodas. So I signed the deal and did the 2018 championship with them.
yeah.
I got 150 grand sponsorship from a clothing company, another 50 grand in sponsorship. So it was I did really well with the funding.
Was that
Uh,
the 11 degree?
exactly, yeah.
That was a cool livery. That was a
Yeah,
cool sponsor.
yeah, really cool. Unfortunately, they pulled out of all motorsport. So in 2019, when I finished second in class that year, and I wanted to my goal for 2019 was I said it before the season, be the first Brit in over 50 years to win the European title.
Yeah,
But I had barely any sponsorship. Um, thanks to someone who's helped me in tough times through my career, and a few other sponsors and to Talksport, I was able to carry on. And
okay.
because we found ourselves leading the championship, we managed to get through rally by rally. Um, Talksport helped me so much. And yeah, we managed to get to the final round with the crowdfunding campaign, which raised £25,000. And then, yeah, rest was history in Hungary 2019,
Yeah,
winning the title on the last stage when both Lucky Nuck, my main rival, and I both got a puncher in the last stage, and no one knew who'd won the championship. It was insane.
yeah. Absolutely mental. Do you know what? I've got a bit of a clip of like, your career and a bit on the lead up to that. Just a quick 2 minute video. I wonder if you mind if I'm just going to put this Chris, watching that, it's given me kind of goosebumps with all the fight and the heartache and everything that's gone into that, culminating in European rally champion, the first Brit to do that in over 50 years. Watching that video back, how does that make you feel?
I've watched it so many times. But I love it. And it does make me feel proud actually. You know, when like we were talking before, we're our own biggest critic, but it's nice to remind myself that, I've worked so hard for it. And yeah, I still feel like we're only halfway there though.
Mm, yeah. Yeah, I was kind of going to touch on that. So we've spoke about setting our goals extremely high, fighting really hard to get there. And for me, I've set some goals and I've managed to achieve them and had a bit of an interesting, kind of mental feeling after that. The European Rally Championship was, the size of that achievement is obviously huge.
Yeah.
But that isn't the end goal. You want to be the world champion. So, that was a stepping stone. How did you feel at the end of that and winning that? Did you feel that you'd spent a lot of time doing the ERC rallies? Your pace notes were getting better, your experience was gaining every year, you were learning, everything about the places and the rallies that you were doing so that you could
Yeah.
culminate in winning that. All that hard work to then move on to something else. How did that feel? Did you feel a bit lost at all?
I didn't really mention this before, but going back to the year of winning it, I was struggling like mad with my mental health because of all that pressure to keep my career going. And every rally genuinely could have been my last.
Mm,
A crash would have been the end. And I struggled to cope with that. At the time, I didn't have the support network I do now, and I didn't have the mental health understanding I do now.
mm,
And it was a hell of a lot to deal with as like a 23-year-old lad. Um, yeah, yeah, it was tough. And then winning it was a brief moment of relief and like euphoria, but then it was very quickly back to reality. When winning a title like that, it doesn't mean you're gonna get picked up and everything's gonna be all right.
yeah.
It was actually the start of the struggle, in fact.
Mm,
So it was very, very weird to say that, but even though having that accolade I thought would be the making of me, it was the start of the next chapter of having to fight even harder.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if I've explained that very well, but
No, no, you certainly have. Yeah. No, it's a huge amount of kind of work going into it, and as we touched on earlier on, like after that money dried out, right in the early days, your dad had a pot of money saved to get you into rallying. After that, you're effectively skint, just kind of working your way rally to rally. Now, you know, you potentially couldn't have afforded to crash. As you say, there's a huge amount of pressure on your shoulders. That was quite brave to still be able to drive on the limit. Was that because at that level and what you wanted to achieve, that was the only way to do it? You couldn't just drive a consistent rally and hope for misfortune in the other parties. You had to drive extremely aggressively, with the risk of that. That must have been torture.
to be honest, I actually drove. Um, I was very anxious and I didn't drive anywhere near as well as I could have because of my mental state.
Mm,
Um, for like my performance over the last 3 years, for example, I'm a lot more free and you can see it in my driving. Whereas in the ERC, even though I was going really well, I was so tense, and that doesn't help you driving. People knocked me that I didn't win a rally that year, but to get a podium on the ERC is difficult enough.
Yeah,
And I consistently was on the podium almost every rally on, completely different rallies, which, Hayden Paddon did the same last year, and it's no easy task.
yeah,
So it wasn't about just winning a rally, it was about doing the best I could to win the title. And um, being on the podium almost every rally was a hell of an achievement in my books.
yeah. Absolutely. No, absolutely huge. Hats off to you for that.
And
I
not
think,
putting a scratch on the car either.
yeah, yeah,
I don't think
absolutely.
anyone's done that actually over a full season.
There's a lot said about that, getting the car to the finish quickly and consistently throughout a whole season.
Yeah,
It's very attractive for potential sponsors and partnerships and stuff.
yeah, exactly, mate. And that I think that's always been a good strength of mine because had to I've not been able to afford to risk crashing, so I've learned to drive
Yeah,
to the edge, but never as little as possible over the edge and over the limit.
yeah. You talked briefly there, obviously about your mental health and stuff and the support. I'd like to touch on that a little bit later on, again. But your support system, and like the strategy behind getting you where you are today. Now, I've had a look and found some very interesting ways that you've done to get money to go rallying effectively. It's not quite just the basic, right? I'm going to sell sponsorship decals or space on the car, which is loads of like televisions, and it's televised everywhere, and all the social media and stuff that goes out. You've been quite imaginative about your ways that you've done that. Does all that come from you, or have you got somebody in the background that's given you, like a financial advisor, a rally advisor, or somebody coming up with these interesting ideas? Like, obviously, like the GoFundMe thing was something, but am I right in saying that you'd made like a business about yourself and sold shares or something? Can you tell me
Yeah.
a bit about that?
So yeah, I after COVID, after the 18 months I didn't drive, I was introduced to a lawyer, and he helped me set up my company, which is Rally Warrior Limited. Rally Warrior is my like brand name.
Yeah,
And yeah, I sold shares to help fund my comeback. So I've got several investors who have who own a part of me basically.
right,
So
okay.
hopefully when I get an opportunity and I'll be getting paid some proper money, they'll get a serious cut of that, and get payback essentially. That's the goal, and that's what a lot of drivers have done in circuit racing particularly,
Mm,
to just get them the leg up to getting a chance. Um, so that's what really helped me. And then yeah, the rally experience. Apart from the lawyer, I've not had a manager. I've done it all on my own really, and with advice from my dad and advice from some family friends. I've
yeah,
never had like a commercial manager.
yeah,
But yeah, another thing I've done is I set up my own rally experience last year.
right.
And as you know, just getting people in a rally car is just the most mind-blowing experience. And everyone says it's the best thing they've ever done.
Yeah,
You can't you can watch the videos, but you can't comprehend what it's like being in the car.
yeah,
So that's gone down really well and been a huge success. I've just relaunched that, and I'm hoping to run several experience days this year. Um, which any proceeds will go towards doing more rallies.
yeah.
But I just enjoy it as well, and I just been really enjoying driving again
Yeah, yeah.
for more the last 12 months really.
So where would you do these experience days, Chris? Would you do that at like Sweet Lamb or something? Would you do this all in the UK? Gravel, tarmac, whichever.
Yeah, so if there's a few venues in the UK, but also um I've not told anyone this, but I'm actually going to run one on the Col de Torini.
Wow.
I've got a contact in Monaco who can close the Col de Torini for me for an experience day. So I'm putting
Wow.
plans in place for that. Obviously the most iconic stage in the WRC. It's not the full stage, but it's a good portion of the classic part of the stage, and um, I'm going to be putting one on there, which is going to be unbelievable. Yeah.
That's incredible. And how do people find out about that? How do they sign up or book this? Or is there a website or a booking page? Or is this on the Rally Warrior website? Or...
Yeah, exactly. My website, rallywarrior.com.
Okay.
And yeah, or you can just direct message me and I'll send over the details. But yeah, that's been something a bit different and it's been really popular. Yeah.
Yeah. Is it done better than you first anticipated it to?
Yeah, it has. The only thing to bear in mind is it does cost a lot to run these cars, as you know.
Yeah.
So it's not cheap, but if you want the thrill, something you'll never forget, a special present for a brother or a son or a husband, then
Yeah.
it's this is the ticket, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, so in my mind, I'm thinking, right, I want to ask Chris, right, how much would it cost to sit in with him or to do this or to do that? And I'm thinking, well, obviously the cost to run, a rally tour, an R5 car is for that sort of thing, and then
Yeah,
the kind of the roads and the venue and etc. It's going to be a huge bill, so you're going to have to charge accordingly. But in an actual fact, you know, if you get like an experience day or something at like Knock Hill, they're
yeah.
not cheap. You could be £350, £300 to, for a couple of laps, and some of them you're not even driving it. So it's actually probably very, very good
This is
value.
this is another level, as you know.
Yeah,
This is an elite experience that I don't think there's much else that exists
yeah,
like it, really.
that's class. Nah, that's a really good. So would you say, are you quite intelligent, Chris? You're not going to say yes because you want to be humble, but obviously to do all this off your own back, it takes a bit of thought. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think people think I'm a dope and I come over as a bit of a dope, but I like to think I'm more intelligent than people think.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, not absolutely, but so
Cheers, mate.
obviously rallying is a huge part of your life. Is it basically taken over your life? Is it everything that you talk about, everything that you do? I mean, like I take it you don't drink, you don't smoke, you don't party, or do anything like that. Is that the case, or do you just train hard, think about rally, and that's it?
Yeah, I know it's not good, is it?
Do you still enjoy it? Do you still enjoy
Yeah, I've
rallying?
never I've never drank or smoked. Never. It's just not for me. I just don't get it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've been enjoying it more and more again. Thank God.
good.
It's the years after COVID and stuff, when I jumped in at WRC level at WRC2, it was bloody difficult and I
Yeah,
wasn't quite ready for it. Um just you know, it's just unbelievably difficult and you've got these people online that they're so critical, aren't they?
yeah,
Just don't get how difficult it is. Like to get a top five is a bloody against it's the best drivers in the world, isn't it?
yeah,
And the amount of effort everyone puts in, it's savage. But yeah, I've been enjoying it a lot more. And yeah, the Northwest stages and yeah, that rally against Loeb, like best days of my life, I'd say.
yeah. That's good to hear.
And Alex, my co-driver, is a top bloke, and we're always so competitive together, and we just click really well in the car. It's so important to have that, isn't it? With
Yeah, I mean, what for the people listening, like, what's it take to be your co-driver? Like, are you quite kind of, critical with things? Do you have a bit of crack in the car? Do you still enjoy it? Are you laughing and cheering through stages, or is it, game face on? You're serious and that's it.
in the stage, we're deadly serious, but we have a good laugh, and I think I'm very relaxed as a person.
Yeah,
When it comes to recce and stuff, I'm extremely meticulous, and I've got a bit of OCD,
yeah.
a bit of a perfectionist. So
Do you use that steering wheel thing, the pace note wheel that I've seen you
yeah,
promoting
you're
before?
right. I do use that, depending on the situation, but I do use it. Yeah.
And see, because you're doing so many recce's and stuff now, when you come into a corner, so like, how do you write your pace notes? So this is something that I'd be quite interested in, because obviously there's, from what I've learned, there'd be like a route note and a pace note. So there'd be like angles, or like maybe a 1 to 6 McRae style, like attack, how much you're going to attack the corner. Like, what is your pace note style?
So mine is like angle. So I could draw the map of the stage.
Yeah,
'Cause it's in degrees, my notes. So 9 is 90. But I also do add notes, if it's max, if it's fast, if it's slow, tight. Um, so they're very precise, but I could also draw a map of the road. I mean, I could draw a map of the road, but they're also tell me how fast they are,
yeah.
which I think you need both really. But yeah, I did. So I did the Northwest Stages, and 2 years ago, I used the same notes, and I didn't even change a single corner angle
Yeah.
in the recce, which shows that it's just really precise, my system.
Do you take a lot of cuts and stuff? Do you put cuts in? A lot of cuts?
Yeah, I try as much as possible.
Yeah. But it's quite risky at the same time, is it? Like, do you find that if you're on the pace and you've got a commanding lead, will you sometimes perhaps choose not to
Yeah.
take the cut?
Yeah, so in Northwest Stages, I only cut in like the second half of each stage
Uh-huh.
because
Oh, right. So literally halfway through, you're like, right now, we're close to the
unless
end.
it's a really fine, no problem cut. Um, but in the second loop of the stage, I didn't cut anything because we had a big lead, and it was just about managing it.
Yeah.
So I was avoiding every apex.
It's just brutal for the tire walls and stuff, isn't it, though? Like, I used, last year I used Pirellis, but in the past I've always used Michelin's. And that
Yeah,
was after doing the ERC stuff with you when I did the Circuit of Ireland. Obviously, we had the two choices, didn't we? We had, what was it, the 22s and the 11s.
yeah.
And that was your lot. And then obviously they work so well. Was it the 11s or the softer tire? They work so well um, in like wet conditions. I was like, why do you even need a set of wets? Like, these are just fantastic. But anyway, that gave me the confidence. I was like, look, you pay the money for the Michelins, but they're so bloody good. And like doing, in the Mull Rally and stuff, like a lot of the cuts that I was taking, the sidewalls, they take an absolute doing.
Yeah.
And it's only when you look at that at the end, you're like, geez, I've been really lucky to get away with that. But is it actually, you know, should you be taking that risk? Like, obviously you rallied with Paul McKinnon, and Paul McKinnon's quite a very meticulous driver. Very very clean and stuff, and very calculated. And he's even said that a lot of the times he won't even take the cuts. Just drive faster everywhere else.
Mm. But then when you get to that highest level, you've got to take every single advantage you possibly can, or it's
Yeah,
just not enough. Like Ypres is the best place to learn for me, because the cut that is the place where you'll learn what you can cut, what you can't.
yeah.
Because every corner is a cut basically, but there's different sharpness of the tarmac. There's It's a real art to,
Mm.
to it, because if you drive it on recce, you've got everything as don't cut. Because you would never cut it in a road car. But then when you get to the rally, like, shit, I need to be cutting everything here because everyone
Yeah.
else is. So that, and you get to the stage and there's 1 second between you. And if you don't take a couple of cuts, then you're not going to get that second. So
Yeah. Is that kind of like what you were talking about, Chris? Um, Jumping up to that level to the WRC too, how it's perhaps less about enjoyment and more about like being absolutely clinical
oh,
and doing a
yeah,
job.
yeah, good point.
You're right from the start. You're on it, and everything's absolutely clinical. I've kind of been watching a bit of the Formula One recently, and thinking, could I be a Formula One driver or whatever? But it's obviously the answer to that is no. But like watching it, and everything's just so careful, and just that little tiny bit here, a tenth of a second over 50 laps or something. It's all making these little differences. It's almost like an endless pursuit of perfection, you know? And is that something that you would say that?
WRT is another level in it than F1. Like how long those rallies are, how tough they are. A good example is we did Sardinia WRC, and it was a really strong WRC2 entry. On the first proper stage, the first stage was super special. On the first proper stage, stage two, we were fastest in WRC2,
Yeah,
like faster than Mickelson, Suninen, all these top guys. And I was absolutely buzzing,
yeah,
and I just got so excited. And I was like, right, we're gonna win it. We're gonna have it. And then second stage got a puncher, and that's it. Oh, it's like going back. It's like you can't be excited and you can't be disappointed because you've got 18 stages, like the toughest stages in the world. You've got to be so consistent,
yeah,
every corner perfect, clinical, and that's the hardest part because
yeah,
you could be the fastest driver in the world, but if you're not consistent and clinical, then it's not still not enough.
yeah,
And that's why Loeb's the GOAT, because even though we did that rally against him last year, he had his girlfriend in the car with him,
yeah,
but he was like half a second or 1 second stage faster than us every stage. And
yeah.
I'd get to the end of the stage and say to Alex, I couldn't be more than half a second faster, impossible. And he was like zero point 0.4 quicker. And it was like this, he's just the absolute GOAT.
Just those fine margins.
And just he never makes a mistake. Like he'll never ever just miss an apex once in a stage or anything. Just just unbelievably perfect driver, yeah.
Is that what Ogier is like?
Yeah, they're like two of a kind, aren't they?
Yeah,
But I think there's something a bit extra about Loeb, his persona and
yeah,
his mindset, and he's just the coolest guy ever.
yeah.
Can't be nothing can rattle him.
Oh, he's super chilled out. I like what's really interesting about him now. It kind of ties into what we've been talking about over the podcast. Is you see how relaxed he is. He's got the money. He's got nothing to prove, so he doesn't care. So the problem is now he's just so dangerously fast because he's driving like the feeling that you've got now. You're relaxed. You're loose in the car. You're
Yeah,
just driving fast with everything that you've learned, enjoyment. But you're not all tense like you were in the lead up to the ERC.
yeah,
You're
yeah.
driving, and he's just so relaxed. He's like, if I crash the car, he literally doesn't care, not even one bit.
He knows he never will.
He probably doesn't have to worry about that. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. He's just and Rovin Pera as well. Like he's the next Loeb for me.
yeah. Have you
Like
met
he's
Callie?
so
Have you?
relaxed. Yeah, yeah. Nice kid.
Yeah. What's he like then?
He's just so relaxed and
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. It's a tough one, isn't it? Because Rovin Pera has been bred for this.
yeah,
He's never had to worry about a thing in his life to do with rallying. I mean,
yeah,
and that's a hell of a advantage, isn't it?
yeah. Loads of seat time as well.
Yeah, but I'm. I just hope for myself that I've understood it from both sides really, the mental health side, that
Yeah,
I can use that to my advantage
yeah, definitely.
going forward.
I had to say I did have some admiration for Callie when he said, "Look, I'm taking a year out, or I'm coming back for a partial season."
Oh yeah, definitely.
And I was like, do you know what? Hats off to that lad. Like that takes
Yeah,
some balls to actually come out and say that and do that.
exactly. And there's a lot more to life than just rallying, and he's already realized that, and he's in the position that he can do whatever the hell he wants, isn't he?
Yeah,
It's a fair play.
yeah, absolutely. I was just thinking
He's
though,
got
Chris,
nothing to prove either.
have you got to that stage yet? That stage yet where you figured out that there's not, it's not just rallying, or have you got that to come?
Uh, um, for me, I'm in a place where I want to rally,
Yeah,
and I've got a lot in the tank still.
yeah, good.
But for him, he's rallying every weekend, isn't he?
Yeah,
Which is a bit different than me rallying every couple of months.
yeah.
Yeah.
When you're not, if you got a simulator, Chris, when you're not actually rallying, if you got the sim,
I don't actually, but I need to get one really.
yeah,
I
I think
think
they're
I
really
think
good.
they're pretty useful. Have you got one?
Yeah, so I played Dirt 2 for a while through COVID and stuff.
I had like a basic one then, but I've not really used it since.
Yeah, yeah. I used it for then, and then I've just got the latest WRC game, but it's yeah, I just haven't had time to go on it too much.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're definitely useful. There's actually a place in Monaco, a simulator shop,
Okay.
and um kindly they've let me just come and use it a few times.
Yeah.
And they've got a really high tech sim, and it feels mega realistic, to be fair. So
Yeah.
I need to get one sorted, really.
I definitely. You need to get on that. I need to get on
Yeah.
that. But anyway, Chris, moving on. How are you getting to the WRC then? How's Chris Ingram going to get to that goal? How are you going to be world champion? What's on the cards? How are we doing it?
So hopefully my business venture is gonna come off, and I'm gonna make my own millions that
Good.
way. And then I'll just get myself a seat. But no, seriously, that's one idea. But this year I want to become British champion and the first person to ever win the British Championship and the European Championship, because it's never ever been done, not even by McRae and Burns,
All right. Okay.
Elfin. Um, so that would be a hell of an accolade to give me a boost.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just want to win rallies this year and show my speed to the manufacturers.
Yeah.
Last year, I had some really good meetings with some of the manufacturers,
Right.
and
Okay.
I almost pulled a deal off for this year with manufacturer backing, but it fell through like over Christmas time.
Right. Okay.
There's people that have got their eye on me, and I need to keep showing my speed really.
Hmm.
Um, but realistically, WRC is in quite a tough spot at the moment.
Right. Okay.
I just hope that the regulations favour up and coming drivers in the
Yeah.
next year or two. Because at the moment, without literally paying your way in or being Finnish, or French, it's not possible.
Yeah.
It's a closed shop. The
Yeah.
Finns basically run the sport, um, and it's just not in a good place. It's very political.
Right. Okay.
But I hope that Rally 2 Plus becomes the top class, and then it would give hope to drivers like myself, several other drivers in the UK, in France, in Scandinavia, that I believe at least deserve a chance.
Yeah,
Um, because there's so many quick guys in Rally 2 that I believe deserve a shot that haven't had the same opportunity as the guys in Rally 1 have been there for 10, 15 years. So what would I certainly believe that if I had that opportunity, I've never been given any testing or anything like that. If I had that opportunity, then I certainly believe I would be up there.
yeah,
If I didn't think that, then I might as well not bother.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, you certainly believe in yourself, and you've got to. That's that
Yeah,
warrior. That's that warrior attitude. I found that when I met you and you spoke to me very briefly in that time at the Circuit of Ireland. I found you to be ambitious, calculated, methodical, and just that kind of like warrior instinct to win. And that's what's going to get you there, isn't it?
definitely, mate. It's all self-belief at the end of the day, isn't it?
Absolutely,
I
absolutely.
um I know that I'm not quite where I want to be yet, but I do think that there's not many that could have done what I've done given my circumstances and to have persisted and never given up.
Yeah,
So I believe that if I was ever given a chance, then 100% I believe I would be able to deliver like these guys are.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's no denying the abilities there. I think that's probably what's been quite good over your career is that, money comes and goes, but you can always fall back on your driving, and ultimately you're an
And
incredible
find a way
driver.
as well. I've always just had to find a way to carry on,
Yeah,
even there's been nothing there. I've had to fight for a chance to carry on through
yeah.
many different means. But yeah, thank you, mate, for the kind words. And hopefully I don't sound too cocky or anything, but you've got to believe in yourself or there's no point.
Of course you do. Of course you do. You got to back yourself 100%,
Yeah,
especially when you're trying to achieve like a world championship level of anything.
yeah,
You
yeah.
can't just be going in half-arsed on a whim, can you?
No, no. Yeah, exactly, mate.
No, that's brilliant. Well, before
What
we
about you, mate? When are we going to see you in the British Championship or some European stuff?
So, do you know what? Actually, after doing
Your
these
plan?
podcasts and talking about stuff and things, it's kind of like got a bit of fire in my belly again. I think it's a shame to have done so much, done the rallies that I've done over the years and put so much effort into learning a craft,
Yeah,
to just not do anything with it. My goal was to win the Mull Rally and then compete one season in the WRC Academy.
yeah,
I didn't care how I did, I just wanted to do it. Never managed to make that happen, but I did manage to win the Mull Rally. So, I was quite content with that, and I know the money that it takes for rallying. And to be honest, I think at the moment, you know, my priorities are slightly changing. The amount of money that have to come out of my, personal account to make this happen, I just can't justify that.
yeah, yeah.
The stage of my life, with potentially, family in the future and, houses and all that sort of thing. I think I kind of got a bit the sensible head on,
Yeah,
getting married and stuff this year. So,
nice
um,
one. Yeah.
yeah, I
You
think,
never know, you could find yourself in a different position and there could always be a way in future, couldn't there? It's just keeping open to it. And I'd say to you, like, there's so many other amazing championships than just WRC Academy or Junior WRC. Like, personally, I would have loved to do that as well, but I never could have been able to afford it.
yeah,
It was actually cheaper for me to do ERC than to ever do Junior WRC. I never had that chance.
yeah,
It's still ridiculously expensive.
yeah,
Way too expensive for a junior championship, in my opinion. But there's so many other amazing championships, like and other amazing rallies you could do in Europe, which hopefully one day you could look at.
yeah,
There's so much out there that's yeah, yeah, there's some like this the single make stuff, but also, there's rallies like Rally Legend and even going to do some Belgian rallies.
yeah.
Yeah.
The Belgian rallies are good because they're nice and close, you know.
Yeah, and they look after you, they give you free entry, free hotels, and um, even some prize money
Yeah,
potentially. So there's a lot of incentives in Europe.
yeah. No, it all sounds good. Sounds good. What I would say is, Chris, is perhaps there's not going to be, a huge amount of driving for me unless the right opportunity comes along. But I think it's important to give back, and that's something I've just started recently with the Rally Foundation or the Rally Fund.
Yeah, I saw
Um,
that.
and it's basically just a way of bringing money into a pot that we can help pay, at the very basic, pay for entry fees for people to do the kind of the Mull Rally, because that's where we can kind of offer expertise and kind of mentorship and stuff for there. But the optimistic goal for the future is that it kind of goes UK wide and even further afield, and we get, we're giving lectures, and then, maybe I'll be sending you a message and seeing if you're up for doing a call with a few bods, and passing on that motivation and that knowledge on to, the next generation coming up and the next people getting into rallying, so
Definitely, mate. I'm also really keen on exploring that. I did a junior coaching day
uh-huh.
a month or two ago, and that's where I started in the junior 1000. And I really just want to try and help and give back to these lads because the future of the sport, you know, depends on it.
Yeah,
And I think it's quite easy for me to at least give some advice. And yeah, I would like to at least do that as much as I can. Um, could do with a bit of help though from, the associations or something to bring some days together.
yeah,
But I would really like to be able to give back to the young lads because when I was coming up, there wasn't any older drivers really there. So I think it's really important. And hats off to you for setting up the fund, mate. And I'll keep in touch with you about it.
yeah. No, that would be great. No, it's always good to kind of keep something going in the background, eh? Just keep it going. Always keep busy at something.
Yeah, 100%. And we need to build the future for the sport as well. And that's always been really important to me.
Yeah,
Not just my career, but the sport as a whole.
yeah, absolutely. It's a
Yeah,
fantastic sport. We've got to pass it on, don't we, Chrissy?
exactly, mate. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. Well, listen, I've really enjoyed this. It's been fantastic chatting to you. I hope I've not kept you too long. Chatting
No,
about
mate.
some super interesting stuff.
Talk to you all day about rallying probably, but
Absolutely.
thanks so much for your kind words and support. And yeah, hopefully it's been a good one for people to listen to.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, Chris, the next, hopefully, British Rally champion this year, combine that with a European, belt, and then we'll see what happens in the future onto that WRC.